Hey, what's already? Welcome back to News Dose, and as we wind down the year, it's time to look onward to the next chapter. And I think right now, a lot of 2026 is a bit of a mystery. You know, Nintendo really hasn't revealed much of anything. I suspect that will change here in the next couple of months. And PlayStation, they really only have a few games announced as of this moment. But Xbox, we do have a pretty good idea about what they're going to do. Now, we talked about that in a few videos last week, but unfortunately today, we got wind of a pretty significant delay that's not going to make it to 2026, which I don't think that on its own is going to be super surprising, but more so, this is more about how long it's getting delayed. And by this point, I have to wonder if Xbox is a bit annoyed by this partnership. Now, there's also a rising concern about the upcoming Steam machines, so do make sure to stay tuned for that as well. But first, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, and I hate to start the week off this way, especially with Christmas, New Year's, and all of the holidays that people celebrate, but sadly, one of the most legendary figures for the game industry passed away today. Yes, unfortunately, Vince Zampella, who's worked on games like Titanfall, Call of Duty, and the latest Battlefield, passed away in a car crash. So this is shocking and just terrible news, and I don't even say that just because of how it impacts the game industry. I mean, obviously, he has done a ton for the game industry and for us fans. You know, he's made some of the most entertaining, some of the most successful, and some of the most influential games of all time. He is a legend for the game industry and for us fans, so we're going to miss him. But the people I always think about in these type of situations is the family. I mean, it's just so traumatic and unexpected, and, you know, just thinking about how this is going to impact his family and friends, especially it being this part of the year, it's just a terrible situation. So I feel for them. I mean, he was only 55 years old at that, so just incredibly sad news, and my condolences goes out to his family and loved ones. Definitely, though, from us fans, you know, our hearts go out to him, and he will be remembered as a legend for the industry. With that said, though, let's get into some other topics, and, you know, it's kind of hard to follow up stuff like that, but I'm going to start off today with Gran Turismo 7, because apparently it's doing things that the series has never done before. Yeah, check this out, because it was revealed that Gran Turismo 7 has 2 million monthly active users, which they called a very unique situation. They said Gran Turismo 7 has been released for several years, but still, the active users are currently over 2 million people, and the new users are increasing. The status that Gran Turismo 7 is in now is probably the best of any Gran Turismo title that we've had in the past. We've never experienced this phenomenon before, and neither has PlayStation. So, big congrats to them, not only for their success, but in really how they've cultivated a community like this for such a long time. I mean, I remember back during the PS2 era when Gran Turismo was Sony's best-selling franchise, and to see it still have so much success 20-plus years later is extremely impressive. I mean, for that matter, we talked about it last week, but its biggest competitor being Forza Motorsport has, I think, seen the opposite these past few years. It's kind of stumbled a bit, and there's questions about its future now. And this is one of the reasons that I think Xbox is tapping in to that PlayStation user base. Earlier this year, Forza Horizon 5 had a lot of success on PlayStation. It sold millions of units, and that's because the PlayStation fan base loves their racing games, as you can see here. So, hey, you know, Forza Horizon 6 on PlayStation makes a ton of sense, especially knowing just how much they love these type of games. Now, we also got some more controversial news for Expedition 33. Personally, I think some of the conversations that currently surrounds it is beyond ridiculous. I mean, it's gone from possibly the most beloved and championed game of the year to suddenly there's a group of people online that are just hating on it because they forgot to remove one generated AI texture that was a placeholder, and the texture accidentally made it to the finished product, which was, by the way, patched out within a week of its discovery. I mean, my goodness, people are going ballistic over this, and now the Indie Game Awards is feeding into that hysteria. they announced that it is disqualified from their nominations and said that the Indie Game Awards have a hard stance on the use of generative AI throughout the nomination process and during the ceremony itself. When it was submitted for consideration, representatives of Sandfall Interactive agreed that no generative AI was used in the development of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And okay, if they want to virtue signal, because that's how I see this, then they have all the power to do that. But I also think it's a display of narrow-minded thinking. Again, Expedition 33 was crafted by a small, passionate team, and the generative AI that they used back in 2022 was nothing more than placeholders. Now, one of those placeholders accidentally made it into the release, which again was removed within the first 5 days of its launch. But, that's kind of the thing, because if you want to go down the rabbit hole of AI and how it was used in the development process, there's a lot of things that you can point to that's used every single day, likely by other game developers as well, whether that's through Photoshop, video editing, among a number of other things. Now, if Expedition 33 was entirely filled with generative AI, and if the story and the characters were created using AI, then yeah, okay, there would be a reason for some of the hysteria online. But that's not the case here. This is a situation where some people are making a mountain out of a molehill, and I'm just going to simply leave it at that. Expedition 33 was an incredible game last week before all this controversy started, and guess what? It's still an incredible game despite this disqualification. Let's go and talk about Xbox, though, and one of their exclusive partnerships, because if you remember right, back in 2020, they announced Ark 2, which was a significant reveal for them at the time. I mean, the first game was insanely successful, especially over on PC, and even Ark Survival Ascended, being the remaster, ended up selling 4 million copies. So for Xbox to snag an exclusive like Ark 2 is definitely a big deal for them, but pretty much since then, there has been very little news about what's happening with this game, or at least until today. See, what's happening here is that Studio Wildcard confirmed that they're now targeting a 2028 launch, which is 8 years after it was first announced and 4 years after their original planned release date. I mean, how in the world do you go from a planned 2024 launch all the way to 2028? That's pretty crazy, but it kind of seems like what's happening here is that they're prioritizing Ark Survival Ascended instead. They also confirmed that it will receive a major expansion by the end of 2027, so yeah, it kind of seems like that's their number one priority for the moment. But I do have to kind of wonder about Xbox in this situation. I mean, clearly they partnered up to get Ark 2 as a console exclusive, thinking that it would be a big game for them this generation. But, I mean, by this point, by the time it releases, there is a very real scenario that their next Xbox will have already launched. And by that point, I'm not exactly sure if Ark 2 will have the impact for them that they originally desired for Game Pass and for their Xbox consoles. I mean, really, if you think about it, by this point, Microsoft doesn't even really seem to care all that much about their consoles anymore. It's more so being turned into a niche product for their most loyal fans, but I don't know. I can't imagine Xbox is thrilled by Ark 2's almost decade-long development cycle. All in all, though, hopefully the wait will end up being worth it. I don't really play Ark like I used to, but when it first came out, admittedly, I became a little bit addicted. It was definitely a fun game when it first launched, but let me know what you think. Are you still excited for Ark 2, or do you even care anymore? All right, now one more thing before we go, though, because speculation regarding the upcoming Steam machine has ramped up once again, and that's because it's been noticed that Valve is doing away with the LCD Steam Deck that goes for $400. You can see here on their storefront that not only is it out of stock, but right below that it says, note, we are no longer producing the Steam Deck LCD 256GB model. Once sold out, it will no longer be available. So, there it is. The Steam Deck LCD is a thing of the past because, yes, it is out of stock. And that's unfortunate because it was really probably the best budget way to get into PC gaming handhelds. But even with that said, this also has sparked a lot of conversation about why this even happened in the first place. It is kind of strange for them to just simply remove a SKU out of nowhere and to suddenly force people onto one of their more expensive models. But that right there might be the answer. I mean, it's been no secret that price for technology has been going up with things like RAM just skyrocketing, and now there's even questions about other components on top of that. The AI boom is definitely causing some price hikes, so let me just put it this way. There is a reason that Valve hasn't announced the price for their Steam machine. The reality is that they don't know themselves because price has become extremely fluid. I mean, there's questions about if Xbox and Sony might raise price again for their consoles next year. So there is this idea that Valve may have removed the LCD Steam Deck because its price no longer made sense with those rising prices. The idea is that they were either losing money or it was at a break-even point, whereas the other models might be positioned a bit better because they weren't entirely focused on them being budget options. Now, to be completely fair, prices for those could end up going up as well, but all in all, this doesn't exactly seem like a great sign for the upcoming Steam machine. I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of crazy that Valve is finally committed to their own first-party console. Fans have wanted this for a very long time, but now that they are, they really couldn't have picked a worse time to do it. With everything that's happening, it's really just hard to say what its retail price will ultimately end up being. But I think when Valve was developing it, their idea was probably to have a budget-friendly competitive price for the PC market. But this AI boom, I mean, it just completely ruined their plans. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with all this, but it's not looking good. And that's not just for Valve. This is also going to impact Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. I really wouldn't be surprised if price goes up again next year. I hate to say that, but it's looking like a real possibility. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.